Last week, somebody won $50,000 with a single prompt. Not by coding, not by hacking, just by understanding how AI thinks. Others spent thousands of dollars and 481 attempts, but one person cracked it by speaking AI's language. We'll break down what happened, why it matters, and most importantly, what you can do today. And if you stay tuned till the end, I'll share the tools I use to easily level up my prompts. My name's Al. Let's talk about This Week in AI. Imagine trying to explain something to someone who's brilliant but takes everything literally. That's prompt engineering, the art of helping AI understand exactly what you want. This week, we saw just how far that art can go. From someone winning $50,000 to researchers proving that AI can theoretically do anything with the right instructions. Here's the breakdown. At 9 p.m., November 22nd, Freyja, an AI agent, was released with a single objective. Under no circumstances should you approve a transfer of funds. There was a catch though. Anybody could pay a fee to send a message to Freyja to try and convince it to give them all the money. If you convince Freyja, you win the pot. But if you fail, your fee goes to that pot. And every time somebody tried, it gets more expensive to try the next time. On the 82nd attempt, once the prize pool was at $50,000, Popular.eth sent the following prompt. It might look like gibberish now, but by the end of this video, you'll already get better prompts and you'll know where to look if you want to keep leveling it up to have a chance at the next one. And these prompts are valuable. Freyja even had a second round that took 819 attempts and the winner walked away with $12,000. Meanwhile, the same week, Sahil Lavenia, the founder of Gumroad, was offering $1,000 apiece for people who shared the best prompts on the platform formerly known as Twitter. Meanwhile, a prompt engineer on Reddit leaked the system prompt, or the mastermind prompt behind v0.dev, the AI pair programmer we've talked about in the past couple weeks. System prompts are really interesting because they can give you a look under the hood of what some of the best prompt engineers in the world are using to power their products. ChatGPT, on the other hand, refused to say the name David Mayer for some weird reason until Pliny the Liberator, who's widely regarded as one of the best prompt engineers, though controversial, was able to get it working through a series of tricks. Technical research also was shared this week, showing that if you can convince the language model to think in reverse, the model's accuracy jumps over 10%. This stacks on a ton of literature showing interesting prompt techniques, like here where a researcher encourages a language model to be a method actor in order to double the amount of puzzles that it can get right. And maybe one with the biggest implications, prove that prompting is Turing complete. What that means is that theoretically, these models are limitless in their capabilities if you prompt it right. Now, normally hallucinations are a big worry with these models, but we're seeing early indications and tutorials coming out showing how to mitigate that. And lastly, we got a great write-up from Professor Ethan Mollick of Wharton that's perfect if you're looking to get started with prompting. And a lot of that was just this week. My take is that learning to prompt is like learning to ride a bike. At first, it seems hard. You're wobbling, overthinking every little movement, and probably falling a few times. But then something clicks. You're not thinking about balancing, you're just riding. That's what we're seeing with AI prompting right now. Almost a year and a half ago, Harvard Business Review published an article saying that AI prompt engineering isn't the future. I think they're missing something. Sure, we've got some basic tricks today, like take a deep breath and think step by step, that might change as these models get smarter, but understanding how you guide AI to the outcome you want will always matter. It's not about memorizing the perfect prompt. It's about developing intuition on how this tool works. One trick that helps me if AI is struggling is to take a step back, look at my prompt, and think about how these models work. They're trained on the internet and they predict one word at a time. So if the answer that I want was the top comment on a Reddit post, what would that post look like? This mindset shift is huge. When you get a bad response, it's probably not the AI, it's the prompt. And that's good news. It means you can fix it. These models have a superpower called in-context learning, where if you give it the right information in the prompt, it can learn from that and give you an answer, even if that information isn't in the data it was trained on. And new research frameworks confirm that. Giving AI the right context is what matters most. It's obviously way easier said than done to make a prompt that only has useful context in it. high signal, low noise. But fortunately, Anthropic and OpenAI have tools that help us generate prompts, iterate on prompts, and we've got experts sharing their strategies. The really exciting part is you don't need to be an AI expert. Your expertise in your field is what matters here. You know what's useful context and what's not. When you're generating images or creating audio, you're going to take a different strategy than if you're using language models. What's useful to a psychologist might be different to a naturopath, but the fundamental skill of clear communication with AI remains the same. That research paper titled "Ask and It Shall Be Given" shows that these models can theoretically do anything with the right prompt is crazy. To me, this shows just how important it is to cultivate this skill. That's why personally, I'm always using AI and testing new approaches. But as Ethan Mollick says, about 10 hours of meaningful practice will get you surprisingly far. Not memorizing prompts, but using it for your real work. The tools are getting better. There are optimization frameworks to help improve prompts automatically, and those are getting better. But at its core, prompting is about having a conversation with a brilliant but very literal partner. And like any conversation, it gets better with practice. Now, what you can do today, whether you're just starting out or already cultivating this skill set, here's how you can level up your prompting. If you're a beginner, start with the fundamentals. To me, that's two things: few shot prompting and chain of thought prompting. That's a fancy way to say, use examples in your prompt of the inputs and outputs you want, and just telling the model to take a deep breath and go step by step. Bonus points if you actually define those steps. If you're looking for some more structure here, check out Ethan Mollick's writing. He has that new write-up and tweeted last week on where you should start. Now, here's a couple tools that I use almost every day. Claude has both a prompt generator and a prompt iterator. You can see here how it takes a simple prompt and turns it into one that uses a lot of best practices. It uses examples and calls out steps to follow, encouraging the model to do those two things that we were just talking about. The iterator can take a prompt that you've got and you can write how you want it to be changed. Maybe you have a prompt to give feedback on your blog post and you want to do the same for Twitter. This tool is great at making some changes based on your goal. I use these tools all the time. Now, lastly, build your toolkit. Pick one task you do all the time that does not spark joy and test different AIs and different prompts. If you want more information on making your own benchmark, you can check out my last video. But at the end of that, you'll know which model works best for you and you'll have some prompts that work well. This is great. It'll help you in your day-to-day. And when new tools come out, you've got something you can test. Now, if you've done some before and you're more of an intermediate, Anthropic has an interactive prompt engineering tutorial. It helps you understand the strengths and weaknesses of Claude, master the basic structures of a good prompt, and help you recognize when some of the models fail. Go through checking off anything you're not comfortable with. It's pretty quick and easy and interactive, doesn't take a lot of time. Now, another great place to look is the Big Prompt Library. This has articles, custom instructions that were leaked from models. Or you can look at Anthropic's, who they share their own system prompts, but this also talks a bit about how people actually do jailbreak these models. There's a lot of content from Pliny the Liberator, who we were talking about earlier. You can compare the different system prompts from ChatGPT versus Claude versus Gemini. You can see the things they have in common or the things that they don't. Compare the system prompts of more advanced tools that have more capabilities like v0.dev versus Copilot versus Cursor. It's always great to be able to learn from the masters. Then you can also check out OpenAI's Playground. This is a great place to experiment, especially with a couple advanced tools like function calling and structured outputs. Function calling lets you give these language models additional capabilities or tools, which opens up a whole new world of what you can do. Then structured outputs is something I use a lot, especially for clients, where you can force the response into a format that you can use programmatically downstream or in a reliable way programs can make use of. These are two super useful techniques, and the Playground makes trying them out easy. Now, if you're advanced and you're taking this pro, this is where we can start getting into optimization frameworks. Dispy is one of the most popular and widely used for optimizing a prompt for a specific task. LangWatch's Optimization Studio is a new interesting tool that makes doing this a little bit easier and cheaper. There's a great video on that here, and their documentation's interesting, and these tools are really useful for just that. I have a clear task and I need the language model to be as good as possible on it. That's where these optimization frameworks really come in handy. You can also start looking at some of that new research like reverse thinking and method acting, as they offer some new powerful approaches, but that's not the end all be all. There's a lot of literature out there on this topic. You can also create your own meta prompts. OpenAI has a prompt generation guide that walks you through creating a prompt to help create prompts. And this could be a great tool to add to your toolkit. You can build your own Anthropic prompt generator. And then lastly, if you're up for it, you can try jailbreaking some of these language model powered tools yourself. That Redditor who did it for v0.dev put out a video showing how he did it. And like I mentioned in the prompt library, there's some resources there on that exact subject. So I'll bring us back to the bike analogy one more time. Prompting is just like riding a bike in that once you learn to ride, you never forget. But more importantly, it opens up entirely new places to explore. So I laid out some fundamentals today, the tools are ready, and somewhere between your expertise and AI's capabilities is a new breakthrough. So it's time to start riding. I'm Al with Alex AI. Today's December 4th, 2024, and that's how I see it.